Imagine discovering that one of your child's biggest milestones has happened without you, and worse, seeing another man sitting in the seat where you once promised you would be. That is the emotional storm surrounding Truely Brown as she grows into a confident young woman and builds a new life in Utah with her mother Christine and David Woolley. For years, Kody Brown presented himself as a very involved father. He spoke about the importance of being there for his children and often took pride in sharing their major milestones. Learning to drive was one of those traditional father and child experiences that could create memories for years. But as the Brown family changed, so did Kody's relationship with many of his children. And now, a driving lesson involving Truely and David has become the center of a wave of online discussion and speculation. Before going any further, it is important to separate what has actually been shown publicly from what remains unconfirmed online. Claims about private messages, deleted posts, anonymous accounts, and alleged family reactions have circulated among fans, but they should not be treated as established facts unless the people involved confirm them. With that said, the bigger story is not really about a driving lesson. It is about what happens when a parent leaves an empty space in a child's life, and someone else simply chooses to be there. Truely is no longer the little girl viewers remember from the early years of Sister Wives. She has grown up, develop her own personality, and become increasingly independent. Her relationship with Kody has also become one of the most discussed parts of the Brown family story. Over the years, viewers have watched several difficult moments involving Truely and her father. Her serious health crisis as a child remains one of the most painful chapters in the family's history, while later milestones also highlighted the growing distance between them. That distance became even more noticeable after Christine left Arizona and eventually built a new life in Utah. Then came David. David Woolley did not enter the family as someone trying to rewrite history. He came into Christine's life as her partner, and over time, he also became an important adult figure in Truely's world. That distinction matters. A stepfather does not have to erase a biological father in order to make a positive difference. Sometimes, he simply has to show up. And that is exactly why the idea of David helping Truely learn to drive has resonated so strongly with viewers. For teenagers, learning to drive can feel like the beginning of adulthood. It means independence, responsibility, and freedom. For parents, it can be an emotional milestone as well. You sit beside your child while they nervously grip the steering wheel. You tell them to slow down. You remind them to check their mirrors. You celebrate when they finally get something right. It is not really about the car. It is about being present. According to online fan discussions, David may have taken on that role for Truely. Some circulating reports claim that she was learning to drive one of David's larger vehicles, and fans became fascinated by the idea of the teenager confidently sitting behind the wheel while David calmly guided her. There is no reliable public confirmation of many of the more dramatic details circulating online, including claims about exactly what vehicle was involved or what happened privately afterwards. But the image itself has become symbolic. Truely, once a young child caught between a complicated family situation, is now old enough to take control of the steering wheel herself. And sitting beside her is an adult who appears to be encouraging her. That is the part fans cannot stop talking about. Because when viewers compare David's visible involvement with Kody's increasingly distant relationship with some of his older children, the contrast becomes difficult to ignore. Kody once had the opportunity to create these memories himself. Whether or not he ever specifically promised Truely that he would teach her drive, the broader history of the family has shown that driving lessons were an important milestone for some of the Brown children. That makes the current situation especially emotional for fans. Instead of asking who has replaced whom, perhaps the more important question is this: who is actually present when a child needs support? That question has followed the Brown family for years. As the children grew older, many of them began making independent choices about where they wanted to live, whom they wanted relationships with, and how much contact they wanted with their father. Some relationships remained strong, others became strained, and that process has changed Kody's role within the family. The father who once stood at the center of a huge household is now dealing with adult children who have their own lives and younger children who are also becoming increasingly independent. Truely is part of that transition. She is growing up, and growing up means that eventually, children begin making important memories without their parents directing every moment. That can be difficult for any parent. For someone who once had a very central role in a large family, it could be even more emotional. This is where online rumors about Kody's alleged reaction begin. Various fan accounts and discussion groups have claimed that Kody was upset after seeing images or footage connected with Truely and David. Some posts have even suggested that private messages were exchanged between Kody and Christine. However, there is currently no solid public evidence confirming the specific wording of those alleged messages, so it would be unfair to present those claims as fact. What we can discuss is the larger emotional dynamic. If Kody did feel hurt by seeing David helping Truely, there could be more behind that reaction than simple jealousy. It could represent the painful realization that children continue growing even when a parent is no longer closely involved. A milestone cannot be postponed forever. A teenager does not stop growing because an absent parent has not yet arrived. Eventually, somebody has to be there, and David appears willing to fill that practical role without necessarily demanding the title of father. That is an important distinction. David does not need to become Truely's biological father. He does not need to erase Kody. He simply needs to be a dependable adult in her life. For Truely, that could be incredibly valuable. There is also something else worth remembering. Christine has repeatedly spoken publicly about moving forward and building a different kind of life after her separation from Kody. Her marriage to David represents a major change in the world viewers knew during the earlier seasons of Sister Wives. The family structure is different, the relationships are different, and the children are older. That means milestones that once belonged to the original Brown family dynamic are now happening in completely different circumstances. A driving lesson may seem ordinary from the outside, but for Truely, it could represent something much bigger. It could be another sign that she is entering adulthood on her own terms. And if David was the person sitting beside her, helping her stay calm and learn, that moment could become a memory she carries with her for years. The most interesting part is that nobody needed to announce it. Nobody needed a television crew. Nobody needed a dramatic speech. Someone simply showed up. That is why the story has struck such a chord with fans. For years, viewers have heard discussions about what it means to be a good parent. The Brown family has experienced disagreements over distance, communication, loyalty, and responsibility. But parenting is ultimately measured through actions. Who answers the phone? Who attends the important moments? Who helps when something goes wrong? Who makes time? And who is sitting beside you when you are nervous about taking your first step into adulthood? Those questions are much harder to answer than simply asking who has the title of father. As for more explosive claims surrounding the story, including alleged deleted social media footage, secret accounts, and supposed threats involving authorities, those remain unverified. Fans should be careful not to turn speculation into fact. The same applies to claims about what Kody supposedly said privately or how David allegedly responded. Unless those conversations are publicly confirmed, they belong in the category of online rumors rather than established events. But even without those rumors, there is still a powerful story here. Truely is growing up. Christine has moved forward. David has become an important part of their household. And Kody's relationship with his children continues to evolve in ways that are sometimes painful and difficult to watch. The real lesson may not be about who won the argument. It may be about the empty spaces left behind when family relationships change. Kody cannot go back and recreate every childhood milestone. Nobody can. But he can decide what kind of relationship he wants with his children from this point forward. The same is true for Truely. She is old enough now to decide which relationships make her feel supported, respected, and valued. And perhaps that is what makes this entire situation so emotional. A little girl who once depended on adults to make decisions for her is becoming a young woman capable of making many of those decisions herself. She is learning to drive. She is learning independence. And, just as importantly, she is learning what consistent support looks like. Whether David was simply giving her an ordinary driving lesson or creating a memory that will stay with her for years, the moment has become a symbol of the Brown family's changing reality. The old family structure is gone. The children have grown. The marriages have changed. And everyone is now discovering what life looks like on the other side. So, what do you think? Do you believe moments like learning to drive should belong primarily to a biological parent? or is the person who actually shows up the one who matters most? And do you think Kody and Truely can eventually rebuild a stronger relationship, or has too much time already passed? Share your thoughts in the comments, because this is one Brown family debate that is unlikely to disappear anytime soon. And if you enjoy keeping up with the latest Sister Wives stories, family developments, and all the twists surrounding the Brown family, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and come back for the next update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.